Ready, fire, aim. How to take your entrepreneurial business through the inevitable stages of growth. Okay, that's this idea. It's based on the observation that everything in the universe goes through natural stages of growth. Each has its own problems, opportunities, and solutions. Okay, so let's start with infancy. Now, for the purposes of our discussion, we're going to define an infant business is a business that's somewhere between nothing and $1 million. How many people here are in that category? Good. Okay, so more than half of the audience is in this category. Okay, so what is the big problem in that stage? What's the number one? Does anybody want to make a suggestion? I want to hear what you have to say, and then I'll tell you what I think. So, making the sale. Who said that? What's your name? Bob? Paul. Have you been reading ETR? Okay. All right, you're not allowed to speak anymore. You know, it's much more dramatic when, you know, people get the wrong answer, then you can come up with the right answer. Yes, ma'am.
I believe it's not knowing exactly what you want to do, how to clarify it, define it, pick your spot.
Okay, good. So there's the two interesting answers. Not knowing what you want to do, where you want to go, and Paul had a kind of pragmatic. He said, making that first sale. Any other thoughts on this? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so how do I implement that? That's the point that Charlie made. How exactly do I implement? I know what I want to do. How exactly do I get there? Any other thoughts on this? Does anybody else have any other problems that you'd like to discuss, either thyroid problems or anything? We can handle them here. Yes? Too much to do and don't have enough time. So you're working full time, presumably, right? Or you golfing too much? What's going on? Too many things to do. Oh, so you're actually engaged in business right now. You have a business and you're in that first stage? Okay. So you're like swamped. Okay, good. This is, and let me get back to that. Lack of startup capital. Okay. That's usually a big one. Yes, ma'am. A replicable system. Okay. She's in the graduate program right now. Yes, ma'am. The fear. Okay. What causes fear? People are afraid of uncertainty, right? What cures fear? Let's say you're afraid of flying, or you're afraid of snakes, or what's the most effective therapy for being afraid of something? Well, I think that if I combined all of those voices, what you would say is exposure to that thing. Snakes on the airplane. Okay, I'll let that one slide. Anyway, exposure therapy. You're going to start getting exposed to the things that you're afraid of. You have to identify what you're afraid of in business, and you have to expose yourself to it. There's no other answer than that. You have to expose yourself to it, and guess what? You'll find out it's not nearly as scary as it seems. One of the Bill Bonner's son, when ETR was started, he was the guy that was running it, and since ETR had nothing going for it at the time, no products and so on, he had to go out and network and kind of drum up support from other people. And he was a shy, pretty shy kid. He didn't like to get on the phone like me. And I convinced him that, I don't know how he did it, but I convinced him that I had once learned how to get on the phone and chat people up, and it was really easy, and I told him to go ahead and do it. I'm terrible, if everyone knows, I won't even, if any of you try to call me, I'm just afraid of answering the phone, and still am, but somehow he believed it, and he started doing it, he got exposed to it, and now he's like a major networker. This guy that, was basically a shy guy is very, very, very good at contacting people. So here's what I said. I said ignorance and inertia, which is a lot of what you guys just said. A lot of what you said, fear is an aspect of ignorance. You haven't been exposed to it. You don't know. There's nothing to be scared of. And most of the other answers had to do with ignorance, not knowing exactly what to do. I have so many things to do, I don't know what to do first. And inertia has to do with getting things going. The problem with a business when it's beginning is it's still. And there's a basic law in physics that it takes a lot more energy to get something that's still moving than it does to keep it moving. These are general terms, but everything that was said, I agree with exactly. What are the challenges? This is where Paul came in. You don't know anything. You don't know how to do it. Your business is stuck dead. It's not going yet, or it's just barely moving. You don't know quite what to do, so you're kind of frozen. I have a lot of people that, in the last 10 or 15 years, I've talked to a lot of people. Probably the most common thing in the world is somebody that's at a stage one coming up to me and saying, here's my business, this is what's going on in my business, what should I do? I remember 4 or 5 years ago, somebody came to me, it was earlier than that, it was beginning of the internet boom, came to me with an idea about an internet business. He was going to have all these consultants, like business consultants, legal consultants, and so on, and he was going to have a big website where they could go and contact, how many people even, this was like a hot idea about 7 or 8 years ago. Did anybody get involved in anything like that? But several people came to me, and this one guy had already created this very, expensive, elaborate website. It cost $100,000, $200,000 to put together. Remember back then, you couldn't get a website put together for less than $100,000. Now it costs about $26. Basically, like one every 6 minutes. Anyway, he came to me and he said that what he wanted me help in is putting together his network of consultants. And he needed to raise $1 million. He needed capital because he needed all these consultants in place because he couldn't show, the architecture of the website, but nobody was going to, he had a marketing scheme where people were going to get like some free time and then go to the consultants later. And so he needed everything in place before he could begin his business. So I said to him, well, listen, let me ask you this. How do you know your basic selling idea is going to work? How do you know that if people come to the website and they see that they got a free offer to use a consultant, that they will actually take that offer and then later on pay for services from him? And he said, well, I don't know, but it stands to reason. That I'm not worried about. I just want to build my... And I said, well, why don't you test that first? Because, that's the fundamental selling proposition of your business. I said, every business has some fundamental selling proposition. And you have to know what that is before you start your business. How exactly is it that I'm going to bring in new customers? And how am I going to bring them in on a profitable basis, or at least a cost-effective basis, on the basis of which I can be profitable later? I told him, look, you could find out the answer to what you're doing for about $50,000 in about 90 days. I could give you advice on how to design a direct marketing program that would teach you, that would give you the answer to your question. So before you drummed up $1 million, you could spend $50,000 and you have your answer. And if it was yes, then you could feel very confident. You could show that to your investors and go forward. Well, he didn't like that idea at all, and he decided to go ahead and raise the money in his own way. And it took him about 2 years to raise the money. He raised $1 million. He was a good businessman. And then in the next year, he lost it all. It all disappeared because his basic idea didn't work.